Hi, I'm Jerry Brito, a Senior Research Fellow at the Mercatus Center at George Mason University. In this video, I am going to talk to you about net neutrality as an engineering principle. In a following video, Adam Thierer will explain some of the economic and regulatory issues surrounding net neutrality. Net neutrality is a vague concept, and different people will define it differently. However, there's a clear engineering concept for the Internet's neutrality called the end-to-end principle. Because there's a clear technical explanation of what end-to-end is, that's a concept I'm going to explain today. The Internet we know today has its origins in a research network created by the Defense Department's Advanced Research Projects Agency. It was called ARPANET, and it began in 1969. What were communications networks like in 1969? Two typical networks in 1969 were telephone networks and cable networks. And two important characteristics of these networks are that they are centralized and specialized. Centralized means that the intelligence of the network, all of its computational capacity, is at the center of the network, at the telephone or cable company's premises. At the end of these networks, at your home, were simply dumb terminals with little to no computational capability. A telephone is just a microphone and a speaker. It's a device that simply relays information. It has no intelligence. TVs are also dumb terminals. They merely display the image being broadcast by the network operator. Specialized simply means that the networks are dedicated to one medium. For example, cable networks were dedicated to video, while telephone networks were dedicated only to voice. Because the networks were centralized, it meant that to use them for a particular purpose, you needed permission from the network operator. Take the telephone company. If you wanted to attach something to the network besides a telephone for voice calls, you had to get the permission of the network operator. For decades, AT&T refused to allow subscribers to attach fax machines and modems to the network. Now let's compare these kinds of traditional networks to the new ARPANET. What made it so revolutionary? The ARPANET was the opposite of typical existing networks. It was decentralized and unspecialized. Why decentralized? Because while existing networks had dumb terminals and smart networks, the ARPANET had smart terminals and a dumb network. This is how the Internet operates today. For example, the Internet is decentralized. Think of all the different devices you can connect to the Internet in your home. General-purpose computers, including PCs and servers, smartphones, game consoles, DVRs, cameras, Internet radios, and many other unique devices, like the ambient orb at the top of this image, which changes colors based on the stock market or weather activity. The devices at the ends of the network are the ones that have all the intelligence and processing power. The network, by contrast, is dumb and merely relays traffic between devices. The Internet is also unspecialized. Unlike telephone or cable networks, which limited themselves to voice or video, think of all the different kinds of communications that the Internet allows. Not only can it carry voice and broadcast video, it can also carry video conferencing, text, images, and much more. Unlike traditional networks, in which data is transmitted as analog medium-specific communications, information on the Internet is transmitted simply as bits. The network doesn't know and doesn't care what kind of data, whether voice or email or tweets, the bits are carrying. Taken together, this is the end-to-end principle. Intelligence is at the ends, and the network is agnostic about the data it relays. The network is neutral. One reason this is good is because it allows anyone to innovate without having to ask for permission from the network owner. Remember that AT&T prevented fax machines from connecting to its networks for decades. With a network that operates on the end-to-end principle, an innovator can invent a new device, like the ambient orb, and connect it without having to ask anyone for permission. Ray Tomlinson, who invented email in 1972, didn't have to ask anyone for permission before he could deploy his technology. He simply did it, and it spread like wildfire. The same thing happened when Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web in 1990. And when Jack Dorsey invented Twitter in 2006. So that is the end-to-end principle. Net neutrality, in broad strokes, means that a network respects the end-to-end principle. Today, some Internet service providers are reaching the conclusion that it would be beneficial to bring back some intelligence to the network in order to better manage resources. Another way ISPs sometimes seek to manage resources is by discriminating based on the type of data being transmitted or the source of the data. These actions do not respect the end-to-end principle, and we can say that they violate net neutrality. Some would argue that net neutrality should be codified in law, and violations prohibited to prevent ISPs with market power from stopping innovators from connecting competing technologies to the network. For example, a telephone company that also offers internet access, some argue, might want to block Skype. A cable company that offers internet service might want to block Netflix. Opponents of net neutrality regulation point to the economics of networks that tend to check such behavior. They also point out some of the benefits of non-neutral network arrangements. In the next video, Adam Thierer will discuss some of the economic and regulatory issues around net neutrality. Thanks for listening.